Your government has said that it doesn't want to wade into the U.S. election or pick sides. But are you not concerned that by being here, you are implicitly endorsing one side over the other? This convention clearly has made its choice.
We are here to emphasize all the work this government has done back in Canada, but also the work that we get to do together, Canadians and Americans, to build prosperous, stronger societies in which everyone has a real and fair chance to succeed. This is a message that is relevant at any given time, and I was pleased to be invited down here to talk about the work we're doing with unions in Canada as part of how we're building fairness for every generation.
Look through with CTV News. How concerned are you that no matter how much you try and insulate the Canadian economy, you'll still be blindsided by a Trump presidency?
I think one of the things we saw during Mr. Trump's first term was that the best argument as to why Canada shouldn't be hit with tariffs or punitive protectionist measures was that it would hurt American jobs as well. That's why I pointed out today that here in Pennsylvania, Canada is the #1 export partner for the state, greater than the next 4 foreign destinations combined. The links between the Canadian and the American economy are so deep, and indeed getting deeper over the past year. Our trade numbers have reached higher levels than any time before. So given the integration of our economies, the complementarity of our economies, the real concerns around shifting geopolitics that are in some ways much more challenging than they were 4 years ago, it is to the benefit of Americans and Canadians to continue to work well together regardless of who's in the White House.
In that vein, how will you measure success of this Team Canada effort?
Well, quite frankly, this is the continuation of something that we've been doing quietly for years, building up connections and relationships with American business leaders, community leaders, political leaders to highlight how much we can do together when we work in a thoughtful, deliberate way. The opportunities we have in North America as two countries with Mexico to demonstrate resilience in our supply chains, independence in our critical minerals and energy, and build a stronger future in which people are optimistic about their careers, about their retirement. These are things that we do best when we work together, and I am very optimistic we're going to be able to continue to do that through the coming years.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry, CBC. The Speaker, Greg Fergus, has come under political attack again today from the Conservatives. They say a partisan message appeared on his website. Your party has now apologized for that, said it was a mistake. So I'm wondering, does this episode in any way shake your faith in Mr. Fergus as Speaker? And do you think it makes it harder for him to do his job?
No, it doesn't shake my faith at all. I have full confidence in Greg Fergus as Speaker of the House of Commons, as a thoughtful, independent-minded leader.
He's a liberal.
The issue was dealt with, was addressed by the party and by the House Leader. It was an unfortunate mistake.
And on a different topic, has your government reached out to the government of Iran after its president and foreign minister were killed in that helicopter crash? What is the position of Canada on that?
Obviously, what we all want to see is regional stability at this particular moment. I think there are significant tensions in the Middle East that mean that any uncertainties need to be smoothed over. But our focus in regards to Iran is the Iranian people, who deserve more rights, more freedoms, who deserve to live in a democracy, and who continue to call for that bravely in the face of government that continues to oppress and marginalize and indeed attack its own people.
Have you reached out to them, sir? Have you sent any message to the Iranian government?
Continue to want to see regional stability.
That's not the...
Prime Minister Jackson Prosco with Global News. Going back to the issue of tariffs, I appreciate that the position of the government is that a 10% blanket tariff is not the deal that was signed with the renegotiated NAFTA. The fact of the matter is, President Trump could impose that, and you would be left waiting for Congress or trade dispute mechanisms to repeal that. So, hypothetically, how damaging would that be to the Canadian economy?
We don't have to be hypothetical about it. We can just cast our mind back to 6-7 years ago when President Trump brought in 232 tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, hurting Canadian steel workers, hurting Canadian aluminum workers. And we worked directly to put pressure on the American administration to highlight that this was something that was hurting them every bit as much as it was hurting us, and we got President Trump to lift those tariffs. This is an approach that we have strengthened ever since, and we will be there to defend effectively against unfair or punitive tariffs on Canadians, because we know it'll be a lose-lose on both sides of the border.
Do you think it's irresponsible for Mr. Trump to campaign on these types of tariffs?
I'm not going to weigh in on campaign issues in the United States.
Brian Platt with Bloomberg. On capital gains, we heard from Chrystia Freeland today that the government intends to proceed in June in the legislature to start moving this forward in Parliament. Can you explain why this is taking so long? Are you having to make changes from what you laid out in the budget last month?
No, the frame is absolutely clear in the budget. Anyone making up to $250,000 a year in capital gains will continue to be imposed at the 50% inclusion rate. But making more than $250,000 a year in capital gains will now be at a 2/3 inclusion rate. This is about making sure that we can
75%?
make the investments in housing, in dental care, in pharmacare, in supports for childcare that Canadians need.
That's a lot.
By asking the wealthiest Canadians, or those who've done particularly well, to contribute a little bit more.
Like if you-
There are details to be worked out, but the broad lines are very clear and will be kicking in as of June 25th.
75% on a
I also
million,
wanted
you
to
only
ask a
get
different
keep
question about
20,
tariffs, which is last week
250K?
the Biden administration rolled out a dramatic hike
That's
in tariffs on some
insane.
Chinese goods, including on electric vehicles. Canada doesn't have any of these kinds of tariffs right now. Is this something you're looking at? Do you think you may need to match what the Americans are doing?
We're watching very closely what the Americans are doing, obviously, as our largest trading partner and as a indissociable partner in building vehicles, including electric vehicles. We have a very integrated market for electric vehicles, both the construction and the sales. We're going to watch carefully what the U.S. is doing, and we will make decisions on how to make sure we're protecting Canadian automakers, Canadian auto workers, and the Canadian economy at the same time.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.